Okay, and we are apparently live. They must have given an update because I'm supposed to get a ding before I go live. Well, welcome to So Get This, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And
Yeah!
I have a very special guest who's not this one, go sit. The lovely Kerry Cahill of The Walking Dead. Welcome, Diane. Okay, welcome, Diane. Welcome, Kerry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Oh, this is so funny. It just said, like, you are presenting to everyone right at the top of my screen.
Hello, I just switched the screen to you.
That's hysterical. Hello. Hi. I'm in dim lighting because it makes me look good. I don't even know.
You know, I found out, was it last weekend, that hotel rooms, I mean, cheap motel rooms have the kindest lighting ever.
They do. They do. I did a short film about a prostitute on Airline Highway, and I looked really pretty the whole time. It was great. It was like, it was all just ageless. I mean, it was a story, but yeah, it was a good film.
What was the name of it?
It was, what was it called? Angel, My Angel. It was way, way back. I think this was probably like 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
One of those that like someone somewhere will dig up one day and be like, you were in this movie. And I'll be like, what? Yeah.
What movie?
Yeah.
Oh, no, now I'm going to have to Netflix that and see if it's there.
Maybe. The director's actually been moving forward and doing lots of other different projects. So he might have been able to get it. I'm not sure where it's at, but we'll see. It's somewhere.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, so why don't you talk to us about when you started acting? How did you know you wanted to be an actor?
So I want to say I was 8. Was I 8? Probably. And my mom brought home a karaoke machine because there was some like school fundraiser going on. And I got on it and started doing lots of funny voices because I could do funny voices even then. And everybody laughed. And I think stand-up comics talk about this, but most actors have that little click where they're like, oh, that's what this is. And then after that, I started like, auditioning for every school play and everything like that. So I was the drama club kid and all of that, as well as basketball, which was not, not easy for high school cliques because I wasn't in a box, but yeah. And then I just kept, and then it just became sort of not a choice anymore. It's just like, this is what I do. I like have to do it all the time. Not all the time, obviously you have to rest. But if I'm not doing it, like if I'm not doing a film or a TV show or play for too long, I start to get just antsy or unhappy and it's not good. Yeah, it's like I have to do it. It's a vocation, which is I hate saying it that way because it sounds all pompous, but I think it is. It's like, the Marquis de Sade, for whatever he wrote, he would write in his own blood on prison walls because he had to write. And I think there is something about people who really love art or love whatever art they're doing that like you just have to do it. So yeah.
That's awesome because, and it's so true. And you're lucky that you found that at the age that you did, because there are some people that they find their niche, but it's much later in life.
Oh yeah, I feel really
yeah, I mean, but when you wake up every day knowing that that's what's, oh my God, gas.
Totally doing. I'm like, we're on screen. So yeah, my publicist will be like, "What did you do?" I'll be like, everybody knows I drink beer. It's fine.
I am so jealous because I'm going to be driving in a little while, so I can't partake, or else I'd be joining you. We'll have to do a virtual drinking session together sometime.
Yeah. But it does. You're right. It does take. I think some people it takes longer, and there's some people that will always wander and are really fun people. Like I have a cousin like that, who just kind of always, snowboard instructs here, and then he like goes off and is like, I want to try to be a merchant marine today, and like he runs around and just is like, and he's got the most interesting life, and
that's so true. I mean, maybe that's his niche, just new things all the time.
Gonna wander, so it's good.
Wow, I would lose my mind.
I've always felt really lucky because people will be like, I just don't know what I want to do, and I'm like, oh. And I'm always like, I have no idea how that feels. I'm always like, I just don't know. I have no idea. I'm like, I know exactly where I'm going, so.
That's a good thing because, I mean, what you do as it is very unpredictable. So to have a schedule of your unpredictable,
Yeah.
you know, that it sounds like it doesn't go, but it does.
It does. It makes sense.
Now you come from a military family background, so you're very well traveled. How does that affect your ability to develop your characters? Has that become something that's helped you build characters?
It's a hard way to say it because I never want to say like I've experienced more than other people, but
Well, you have experienced
like,
a lot.
well, like so basically we were the kind of family where I had seen every state west of the Mississippi before I was 10. Because we were driving places or we were doing this or we were doing that. And my family also loved to travel. So we would go to national parks all the time. And I do think that growing up and starting young and having like looking at the world as a much bigger place kind of affects you as you keep going in the way that, you know, it's easier for me to tap into characters that it may be less easy for someone else who didn't have that experience, because I have met a lot of different people throughout my life just by the virtue of traveling, just because once you travel a lot, you automatically meet different people. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about being able to also like move within cultures and relate to countless different kinds of people, you know, and be able, and I'm always really comfortable at like the dive bar, but you know, I did learn table manners so I can maintain, but you know, I think it's as an actor, you're always moving between, you're moving between worlds because you need to know as many different types of people as you can. So you can really, so I think it helps. Yeah. I think so.
So how did that come into play when you were building Diane's backstory?
Well, Diane, because, so we talked about this, but like number one, you pick weapons in the apocalypse you already know how to use. You know what I mean? And like, or that you choose weapons that you're really comfortable with, because when it's crunch time, it's like, okay, this is the thing. This is what I'm going to do. So I've given her some form of like either military or police background. And I have my specific story, but I'm waiting to see if it meshes with the showrunners, because they sort of reveal her quietly, like right. So every once in a while I'll be like, oh, why'd she do that? And they're like, oh yeah, she does this. I'm like, oh yay. So building her was able, so because my dad was military, I also met a lot of strong women, a lot of really amazing military women. And so women like her who are really tough, who are really stoic, who are very like, let's get the mission done. I had a lot of women to draw from for that.
That's great.
In little things of just like how they move versus how a nurse might move versus how, you know, the kindergarten teacher moves, you know, because women who are coming at something with, you know, a lot of firearms experience and archery experience aren't always necessarily the kindergarten teacher. Although having lived in Montana a lot, I can tell you that there are kindergarten teachers who also have that. So, like, that's not also unfair. But so I think it's, you know, I had a lot of women to draw on for her, which I think is great. And I feel really blessed by that, you know.
What do you, how would you describe Diane, and what do you admire most about her character?
So I'll start with the second one first. What I admire most. So I was reading some article, and apparently I think it was MIT or Harvard, some math students did an algorithm that they really did figure out how many people would survive the zombie apocalypse.
Oh my God, wow.
And I need to tweet it because it's on my Facebook. I need to like tweet it out and be like, this is fascinating. But there is something to, if you have survived this world, and I know it's a comic book world, I know that, we all do. But if you as our
most of us do anyway,
have right, we have survived for 4 years in that world when thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of other people didn't. There's genetically, you got through that, you know, you were able to fight the virus off, that stuff, all of the, you know, antibodies, all of those chemical stuff happened. But the other part of it is you just have a lot of willpower and a lot of mental strength. So I think that's the biggest part I always admire about all the characters in Walking Dead, even the evil ones. They have mental strength. It might be the wrong kind, but they have it, because you don't survive for 4 years going through all of that and continue to survive and thrive for the kingdom. I mean, we make cobbler. That's crazy.
Right.
Like the fact that we're not just surviving. Like, we're not just surviving. We're doing well. We're doing well. And that takes that. And so that's what I would say I admire. And then, and what was the first one? What was the first part of that question?
How would you describe Diane?
How would I describe Diane? That badass crazy aunt that you love having over at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
You would never want your ex-boyfriend who screwed you over to meet. That's how I would say. She's that one.
Oh,
like,
that's
epic. Crazy drunk uncle. She's the crazy aunt that you're like, I would never cross her. Yeah.
That's so cool. You totally need to tweet that later.
Like, she's your crazy aunt. No,
yes, Diane is your crazy aunt.
Yeah,
I love it.
Quiet, but the quiet ones are like,
those are the ones you look out for.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the ones you need to be scared of.
Yeah.
So, what would your ideal role be?
Oh, I'm going to repeat it. I know, because we said this last time when we were halfway through the interview, but I really seriously want to play a female praying mantis villain in some crazy comic book movie. I think that I've discussed this. I think the greens would be really great production design and art department wise. I think the idea that, I mean, you look at what a praying mantis is and how they, how they have babies and how all of that happens. And it's fascinating. And I just think there's somewhere out there, there's like a praying mantis female villain that needs to be made. And I want to play her because I have like hand movements that I used to do. I did a lot of mask work in college. And there was a really weird mask I put on one day and I just turned into a praying mantis. And I was like, this needs to be a thing. Someone needs to make this. That would be. And then of course, like, I'm like, that's like my dream role right now. But of course, like at some point, Lady M on a stage somewhere would be beautiful. And then, who else? I'm trying to think. Yeah. I would love to play like a singer one day, but I don't know which singer I would be able to play. Like if there was a biopic out there, because every once in a while I would love to do, I'm like, I could do that. And then, but I've never really trained as a singer and you really need to be really amazing. And so, but I would I would love to be cast as like a blues jazz singer from the 30s and 40s. And then used to go, good, now I'm going to spend 2 months like going to lessons. Like that's what I would do. Because it's the excuse to do that, right?
Right. Yeah, I think everybody has that little fantasy of being like a lounge singer in the glamour and the smoky room and
it's out there. It's gonna happen. I'm putting it out now.
Now imagine being a lounge singer, but as a praying mantis.
See, that could be her. That could be what it is.
Right? That's her alter ego.
Night. And then she's free all day to commit crimes and hurt people. She lures men and people in through her lounge singing. Yes, this is the villain. Someone needs to write this out there. Write this down. Yes.
Right? This needs to happen. This has to be written.
It's
my God.
I'm in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so hoping you would say praying mantis again.
Oh, yeah, totally. Because I really did think about it. Like, I'm not kidding. I would love to do it. It would be really, really fun. Every time. Yeah.
Man, I already can hear like a theme song in my head, Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And on that note, why don't we talk about with your industry experience?
Yeah.
Have you seen changes over the years in the way that women are cast and treated, and what would you like to see changed?
I have seen changes. The first role I ever booked was supposed to be a man, and my agent was able to push me to the casting director and say, there's no reason this can't be a woman. I think you should see her. And she did. It was for Werner Herzog, which was kind of amazing because he's, prolific and one of those filmmakers everybody just, in the film world particularly, he's very talked about. And then that kept happening. So I've actually been pitched I've gone up against men for roles a couple more times and gotten them and not gotten them. And, but I see now in breakdowns, they're not just saying any ethnicity anymore. They're saying we can go male or female. And it's not everywhere and it's not all the time, but it is happening. And so I am seeing changes, and I do think that it's happening. And the thing is like, it's the Chris Rock thing. We need to make sure that we're also getting stories produced that can be any gender, any ethnicity in certain roles. And we need producers and directors who think that way. And we also need stories where, you know, have you ever heard of is it the Bechdel test? I might be saying it wrong. But, you know, we need stories, because a lot of times I'm often the only woman in a scene. I'm the only woman in a scene. There'll be like 2 other guys, or there's 4 other men, and I'll be the only woman. And that has even changed more and more and more too, where now I'll have more scenes with women and more scenes where it's not just me and a bunch of dudes, you know. And Walking Dead is actually great about that. I think they're one of the diverse casts on TV. And, you know, and that's where I think Hollywood is gonna head, because they have to. Because if you look at what's really popular and what's really watched all over the world, it's shows like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, and they are incredibly broad in who they represent. You know, it's incredible. Like, the storylines are really involved, and everybody's 3-dimensional, and it's really great. So I think we're heading there. I know I've definitely walked in and seen a casting board where there are 40, and I'm not lying about this, 40 men, white, between 30 and 45 on the board, and 3 women in the movie. But sometimes it's like, it's the way the story, and this is why I say it's a story thing. Like LBJ, they were telling a story about a president at a time who had a male cabinet, because that's what happened at that time. And they're telling it from the LBJ perspective. And you can't, that's the way you have to tell that story. You can't suddenly change all those genders just because you want to represent more people. You have to tell that story right. So
because that was the time.
Exactly. So now we've got to do things like we're doing, which is like, wait a minute, what about Hidden Figures? Let's tell that story. Let's not just tell the astronaut story of the guy who went up. Let's tell the story of the people who did the math. And I think we're doing it more and more, and we just got to keep going. So yeah, that's my thing. Yeah.
That's very cool.
And women can throw a punch, but we've all figured that out by now. So.
Yes.
We've all like, that's not even new.
I think The Walking Dead has done an incredible job of showing that women, I mean, especially when you go back to season 1 and you look at a character like Carol, for example, who was a little timid mouse, who is now considered to be one of the biggest badasses on the show. I think that they did an excellent job of showing women in atypical, not gender stereotyped roles, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. It just is.
That's the key. It's what I loved about Mad Max, is that she's just a better shot than he is in that one scene where she ends up taking the gun. There's no discussion. It's not whether she's a girl or he's a guy. It's just going, who's the one who makes this shot? And
exactly.
In particularly dramatic situations like the apocalyptic zombie apocalypse that could happen, that's what you get, is you get everybody doing the job they can do and doing it really well. And it just doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
If you're gay, black, white, straight, short, tall, if you can do the job, you can do the job, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that it is getting so much better in that department. But like you said, it's a slow move, but you're seeing it, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, my daughter's offering me a Thin Mint. I will eat it when I'm not on camera, where you could see the chocolate like stuck in my teeth, and you're just that's mean because now Kerry wants one. You see that?
I don't have any. The Girl Scouts are usually right outside this grocery store I go to, and I haven't seen. So I have to call friends now. It's time.
Can I just, like, totally off topic? I just got finished working Vegas Con for a supernatural convention this past weekend. So I was in Vegas. And there was a casino we went to after hours. My daughter's not listening.
Yeah.
And so there was a drink that we tried that I've never heard of in my life. It's called a Mr. Miyagi. And it is like chocolate chip mint. It's almost like chocolate chip mint ice cream that's melted with but it's an adult ice cream that's been melted, but it's topped with one of these on a stick. And it was just absolute heaven.
Yeah.
And then
I go in there. It's probably like creme de menthe.
Oh yeah.
Probably. There's a really great white cream liqueur that would probably go in it too. Yeah. My bartender brain is now going, because I was, yeah, we all bartended. We're actors.
Oh, okay.
So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's probably like creme de menthe. They wouldn't put Kahlua in it, but there's like a Godiva chocolate. There's a white chocolate and a dark chocolate liqueur you can use and stuff like that. And you could probably, those would be examples, but I bet, yeah.
I bet you're on the money with that too, because now I'm trying to recall the ingredients that were on the menu, and I think it was the white chocolate and the creme de menthe and all that.
And some really good vodka, and you shake it all up, and yeah. Oh, now I want one. It's Valentine's Day. I'm gonna go somewhere after this.
Right?
So yay.
Oh man, now I totally want another one. What are you trying to tell me, woman?
Can I put it back on?
Yeah, you can put it back on. Oh, okay. She has genuine selective hearing. She has cochlear implants, and so she didn't want to hear me talking about getting trashed. So she took her processor off so she couldn't hear me.
What a good kid. Aww.
She is. She's also she just knows me so well. She's like, I really don't need to hear this one right now. Let's take that off. So I know from talking with other actors that when they're performing, there are times where the characters that they are becoming change their lives afterwards. Do you have that same experience?
Yeah, I think so there was I forget who it was, but there was a really, really A-list actor who said this, and he said, you know, actors are forced to ask themselves questions that most people don't have to ask themselves, because if you work on enough different characters, you end up having to go, oh, could I kill someone? Why is this character killing this person? Like things like that, right?
Yeah.
You end up having to sort of dive into parts of your psyche that most people don't have to, and probably don't want to sometimes. You know, like I've had friends who've had to play child molesters, and that's not there's ways to do that safely and healthy for your brain, but it's also like a dark place to go, how do people do this? And how am I going to play this person who did it when it's clearly horrible and I would never do that?
Right.
So I think they automatically change you. And I think what it can is just expand you and make you more well-rounded, but also make you more understanding, empathetic, all the things that, like anything, like if you read a book about someone you never knew anything about, like a Puerto Rican character, and now suddenly this Puerto Rican character lets you know what they are, right? That's the actor thing. So yes, I just got done with a one-woman show in November, I think end of November. No, we extended, so December. But and she was a fighter pilot who then became a drone pilot, and it's called Grounded. It's going to be made into a movie. And she got a really severe, it wasn't just PTSD, it was exhaustion, it was just all of these things. And I think what it does is it didn't necessarily change me, like I suddenly walk around like I'm a different person now, but it did, I think, open my eyes into terms of one of the things I've had trouble understanding sometimes, and not all the time, is when people don't want to accept help, when they don't want to go talk to a counselor, when they don't want to, just pick up the phone and go, you know what, I know I'm not okay, I need to talk to someone. And I think what it did for me was sort of give me a different angle on that, to where I can understand it better. In terms of when you're in that situation and you're working 12 hours a day and you're working 7 days a week and you're trying to fulfill this mission and you're trying to do all these things, it doesn't matter that you're not okay. And it was a really eye-opening. And I always say that, like, that's the most recent role really that sort of put that there. And then trying to think, there's a couple of them that have just, like Free State of Jones. I learned more about the Civil War researching my character for that than I had learned in my entire history class in high school. Like, it was a very much an on the ground, what did people go through on the ground in Mississippi during the Civil War? What was happening?
Oh,
and
wow.
It was terrible. It was terrible on both sides. Sherman would come through and destroy an area, and then the rebel army, the Confederates, would come through. And if your husband wasn't, if he was already like deployed and conscripted, they would still take all your food to go feed the army. So then you were just left with your kids. And then if your, husband or oldest son or whoever, if you weren't a plantation owner and had no slaves, if they ran away and deserted, at one point, Robert E. Lee was saying, that's it, it's treason and you're dead, no trial, no nothing. Yeah, so you get a person, and that was, I think, 1863, because it wasn't right away. It was like as the war kept going and more deserters and more deserters. It was, but I learned more about it. Yeah, it really, and I think that what it did too is gave me a better understanding of the states versus the federal government, versus why there's still a lot of issues in terms of the arguments, the battles that get picked, that I'm going, what? And they're all left over because the Civil War didn't really end. Everybody thinks it did, but 2 years after it, the colonels from the Confederate Army were the ones who were the governors and lieutenant governors and mayors. And there's no possible way that it just suddenly goes away. There just isn't. You know, whether anybody's right or wrong on any of those, it just doesn't go away.
There's just no physical, there's no combat, but the war's still going on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is that inaccurate?
It's a cold, yeah, way to look at it, I would say. Like there's no shots fired, but like it just they kept fighting, you know. Oh, you know, and then you look at Reconstruction and the Jim Crow. I could talk about this forever because I researched it, but like all of that, yeah, I learned a lot. It was really, you look at America different now, and I understand a little better. I don't always, but it's okay. We'll get there. I'm like, let's work on that. So.
Do you have any?
And then all of them.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, it froze for a second. Now you're fine. I was going to ask you, did you have any current projects that you would like to talk about? Oh no, the solar flare.
No. Work. Is it working?
It's choppy. It's choppy now.
Freezing everyone. Oh.
Okay.
But I'm here.
Okay. Yep, I can hear you now.
That just premiered at Sundance, and it's called Mudbound, and it's about two from the small, little town in Mississippi, and one is black and one is white, and it follows them, and they, for even though nobody wants them to, they become friends because they're the only know what they've been through. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful. It's the same director who did Bessie Smith with Queen Latifah.
Oh, okay.
It's a really incredible film, and just the story, and it's based on the novel. So if anybody's read that, they'll know. But I don't want to talk too much more about it because there's. But that's one of the things that's come out that's really recent. And another one is called Heart Baby, and mm-hmm. It is a true story that no one's ever heard. And I play a prison guard in it, and a really intense prison guard. But I'm actually nice. I'm actually kind. I'm not totally crazy. And I can't wait till people get a view into that. It tells. Yeah, these are both Mudbound and Heart Baby are both ones that they're just stories we've never heard before.
Oh, cool.
And it's hard to find it. Yeah, and it's hard to find that because we tend to think everything's been written.
Yeah.
And they're really cool. And in Heart Baby, it was also, that's another one that was eye-opening. Like we filmed in real prisons that had been open recently and were closed down. I was talking to real prison guards the whole time on set. And it's a system that we obviously need changed because it obviously doesn't work. Everybody can admit that. And there's a great phrase, and what film brought home to me. There's documentaries about and prison wardens who were talking about it in this, and they were very fair. But one guy said we need to decide who we're scared of and who we're mad at. And I thought that was the best way to really look at how we need to adjust the system and how we need. It is a difference, and how can we solve somebody who got caught with 2 joints isn't in jail for 10 years, but somebody that is a pedophile, we are scared of that, scared of the guy who smokes weed on the side, right? Like,
right.
How do we as a country do that? And but it was great. Those are my 2 projects I want everyone to see when they start coming out, and they're independent films, so they're sort of like climbing. climbing. But Jackson Rathbone's the lead, and one of the leads. There's 2 or 3 in Heart Baby, and he's great. He was on Twilight, and
Oh, okay.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing those. Those looks. I mean, it's so nice because, like you said, you keep thinking, well, every story's already been told already, but these sound like things that we would love to watch and learn new character studies. Just stories that people don't talk about. So we can disturb. Okay. So you've been named the national spokesperson for AmVets. So why don't you tell us how that happened and what that means?
My publicist was able to connect me with them because she does a lot of charity work as well. She's on a lot of different boards, and she's more than a publicist. Right, because you froze for a little while.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yep, okay, good. So, and part of the reason I got killed, my father was killed in the Fort Hood shooting in 2009.
Oh, wow.
And you don't just lose the soldier. And I say soldier, he was retired, but he was a retired chief warrant officer. So they still called him military. It died charging the he died. What we realized is we were getting cards from soldiers all the way from Afghanistan.
Wow.
And so what you lose when you lose a parent in a way like that, or when anyone loses a parent, if you lose someone, what is his, all of his friends lost him as a daughter with that person as their parent is continue their mission rather than let it go. So that press just because my sister and I is who I'm talking about. And so was for veterans. Did that, pissing off the colonel because I'm the private first class who went to the colonel instead of my, my CO or my OIC, right?
Mm-hmm. And
commanding officer and officer in charge, and there's people before a colonel for a private first class, but someone like me and is getting more press. The only reason to have more press, in my opinion, is to use it for something to do good and to continue something. Side is still got to solve it, getting better, but we've where like there's people who think it might be 27 a day of veterans, and that's just veterans.
Wow.
There's a lot of that in that as well. There's a lot of Vietnam veterans in that number. There's a lot of female soldiers in that number. People don't even talk about sometimes families is actually is what's serving in our military currently, and act opposite when you had so many people connected to it.
Yeah.
If you're a veteran, you're among a really small club. And so people like me can give them a bigger megaphone, because if you don't know another veteran, if you're not friends with someone who deployed to Iraq 4 times, if you're not who's deployed, if you're not connected to it, it does escape your attention on a daily basis. And it's not because you're insensitive. It's just because you don't know anybody in the military. And you don't know anybody who knows. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in America because we don't, and it's the 1%
right.
of the military and connected. So then that's the goal. Who can get a megaphone and sort of go, pay attention. And that can help in ways where, we get civilians calling our congressman about that would not have happened had, I hadn't been pushing on or this or just is a great thing to have.
Well,
That's what I want.
well, I think
That
that's
was long.
no, I
Sorry
mean,
about that.
no, please don't apologize. You brought up so many wonderful points because I was going to ask you if you felt that there was not enough support out there, partially because you said it's not because you feel that Americans are generally insensitive. You just think it's because of, you know, the 6 degrees of separation of basically, do we know people in that predicament? And I was going to ask you if you felt that it was all, not that we're insensitive, but do you also feel that we're kind of desensitized, basically, because we see, you know, what's portrayed in the media, so it's kind of, we don't have a grasp of reality of what a veteran has actually experienced.
I was organized in a specific is we are so, and this is wrong and this is wrong. This is, and I think we get desensitized to the fact that we just think we, and then when we're talking about veterans, we, you know, I can sit here and say OIC and CO and 14 and, you know, it's like that, and be talking about. And so what it also becomes is people not quite knowing what can they do to help. And when people feel useless and feel like they don't understand, it's very simple for that little part of their brain to just shut down and go, okay, then I can't do anything, and I'm just going to do what I can. I think I hesitate to say, see as people who, it's the right term, I'm overwhelmed, and more in terms of like just feeling unable to contribute, because like when Dad died, we got countless the nation, so I know we're not desensitized, like I know that. But my dad's story was told, no, I think it was, what was it, like 2 or even, and instead of being core stories. And there's 2 sides to that. I'm not actually always happy that like footage from the shooting was on CBS and was aired constantly, and it's still aired. It's not actually okay with me. But so it's that thing of like, too much attention is not good either, because people do want to grieve and mourn privately, and a lot of soldiers are private and don't really want attention. They don't actually want the press to come and be like, hey, tell us about yourself. That's not a thing that most soldiers like. So some do, some don't. It, you know, it all depends. They're all their own people. Some are left, some are right, some are, you know, they're everywhere. I think, I'm again, but they do to help.
Well, what I would really like to do,
this going through, we need help.
Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up. What? You froze again?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
There, I'm dancing. I'm like,
oh no.
I'm like,
Solar flares.
can you hear me?
I can hear you now. It's just choppy now.
But like if people want to know what they can do, I can do that. A big thing is, and I know it sounds silly, but go like, they post articles all the time about veterans issues and what they're facing, and they're really good about knowing like what's their key, what BFW can lead to their organization. This is what we think is best for veterans, and we've all done all this research. And one of the big things is the VA federal hiring, it's not complete. More Look up local things in your, and also if you're not somebody who wants to call you political, which I would say call anyway, but the other thing you can do is your veteran group, make sure you owe them. You can also do is, you know, if you know military your area and you know like they have a family member deployed, you know, they're single for about 6 months to a year and a half, depending they're in. It ranges from things like that all the way to, you know, if you want to do the 22 challenge and make sure you post the suicide hotline there every time. It all ranges from there. And it's really simple as, I think we're really good at complaining in America. I think we have got to get a little better about being grateful, because not Afghanistan, in the bag, having a shower, maybe they were living in, there was FOB, forward operating one. FOB is forward operating base. And when they're standing in a Starbucks line and anybody or complain, it is all. It's maybe we all need to be a little more grateful for what we do have.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
That's what I got. Fundraiser 2 years ago for a suicide hotline, and I just got all my friends who did singing and dancing $1,000, and those are simple, you know, helps. So yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's like,
that's wonderful. And what I'll do is, once the video of our interview posts, I'll put the link to AmVets, or it's amvets.org. I'll put that in the description of the video.
And let me, I'm gonna find my Facebook. Yeah. They're really great though. They're really, what they're really good at is staying on top of what the veterans issues they are dealing with in DC are. And to some extent, that's the biggest way we as people who can make a quick phone call to our representative during a week. That's one of the things we can help do, because congressmen and Senate have a lot of issues on their plate, and the way to bring it to the forefront is call them about it, you know, and that's it.
I think it's the least we can do. You know, I mean, that's effortless to do. So I'm definitely going to make time this week to do that.
I always say, anytime you want to say thank you for your service, like I tell this to any civilian, I'm like, if you want to say thank you for your service, say it, but match it with an action. Match it with I'll give $5 to a veterans charity I trust. Match it with I will go to a veterans fundraiser. Match it with, you know, match thank you for your service with an action. That's what I said.
Are there, does AmVets.org list legitimate fundraising organizations?
I'm moving to them right now.
Yeah.
They do, because they have a few. So AmVets is a post-driven organization. So what they do is they have posts all around the country, thousands of posts. And what they do is each post has something they do. So what you can do is find your local post and see if what they're focusing on is suicide prevention. There's a group out of Ohio that does the Honor and Remember flag, which is really great. And what you can do is see what your local AmVets post is working on. And then they have, and AmVets has like a donate button, and they have veteran services and other things that they have that they do. So yeah, like you go to the page, there's just a ton of information on it that you can find. Because they also do a lot of, like, if you need a suit for a job interview and you're getting out, we provide that. So AmVets goes and is at career days and all of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's really great. Because there's a couple of other really great, like I do a lot of, I need to do a TAPS run. TAPS.org is specifically an organization for Gold Star family members, which are people who have lost their family to combat and suicide. They do a lot for people who are surviving members of family members who died by suicide. So that's taps.org. And then I also work with Help Heal Veterans, which is really, really simple. They provide therapy kits, particularly for people who need hand-eye coordination development, but also it helps with PTSD because it helps focus. It gets your mind off everything else. And they do lots of great stuff too. So those are always my top 3 I love.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. Because I do, what I do like to do is I'll design a piece that's specific to a fundraiser and I'll donate all the proceeds to that. So I would like to look further into just the organizations you were just mentioning so that I can decide what I'm going to do.
TAPS is great because TAPS does run to remember. So like I have a TAPS jersey and on the back is the photos of the 13 who died on the day of the shooting in 2009.
Wow.
So like the next run I do, because I've only done 3 half marathons and I want to do 13. And so I'm not fast. No one think that I'm going to be all speedy, but I just do it anyway. So
hey, the fact that you're doing it is amazing.
So that's something. Yeah. And there's little things people can do. And you can go on TAP's website and donate to people who are running and raising money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, that's what I mean is I think people feel like if they can't do something big, they can't do anything. And it's like, no, if all you can do is maybe give $5 to this, if all you can do is maybe, help.
If a lot of people just gave a little bit or did a little bit, it all adds up.
It adds up fast. So yeah, it's that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, you gave me so many great things to look into.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
I'm so excited about it.
Less, but then I'm like, well, I can also talk about, and then also this, and then.
No, that's excellent. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and damn, I'm jealous.
It's my Kenny Rogers. I went to his concert. He was great. He was so.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Where did you see him?
At the Sanger here in New Orleans. He was.
Oh, okay.
And he told stories like what he did because he's an old man. He kind of sat on a stool and was like, "Let me tell you a story," and then he'd sing, and then it was great. It was really great.
Oh, that's awesome. I like him.
Yeah.
So if you could be a fly on the wall in any setting, what would it be? Oh, the grin.
Currently, I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Oval Office. I want to say something lesser, but the truth is, I actually think I would have said that 2 years ago too, because I just, we've all seen West Wing.
Yeah.
But what happens in there? What happens? I just want to know. I just want to spend like a week as a fly on the wall in the Oval Office. Yeah. But right now, particularly because of today and everything, I'm like, okay, what is happening? Like, let's check in.
The movies and plays and music that will be born of this presidency term. Oh, yeah, lots of material.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to know. Yeah, I would just love to be there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great answer. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so silly questions next. All right, so you're stranded on an island, and you can only have one other person for company, and it has to be a character from The Walking Dead. It could be dead or alive or undead. Who would it be and why?
Okay. Most of our scenes are with him, so this is not the only reason why, but it would totally be Morgan.
Oh yeah. Okay.
For 2 reasons. So is it the actor or is it the character? That's the question.
You can give both answers.
I will give both answers.
Yes.
So Morgan is quiet.
Yes.
When you're stuck in a desert island with one other person, you don't want somebody who talks a lot. You just don't. The other option, right? You just don't. Here's the other thing. Morgan, when he goes crazy, we will get off that island. Like, we won't stay there. Like, we would get out. We would get off. That we would get out. Like, I have no doubt that we would get off. So those are the 2 things. The second one, Lenny James, the actor, he has the best stories. I will not repeat any of them. I'm just code of honor. But he also knows how to be quiet, you know, and he's just a great human. And again, we would figure out a way off the island. But he has the best stories. The best.
Man.
Like, I just could listen to him all day. Yeah. And we would get off the island.
And you would get off the island. So Lenny is as resourceful as Morgan is.
Yeah. I'm not revealing. I won't.
I'm not going to ask you to break your code there.
Yeah.
But now I am so intrigued.
Yeah, totally. He's just, yeah. And he's a good storyteller too. Cause like I have good stories, but I'm not always a good storyteller because I'm really bad at like beginning, middle, and end, and I'll over explain myself. He's a really good storyteller. Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta get Lenny James on the show.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Right. Right. Yeah, maybe 10 years from now, maybe.
Yeah.
But wow, I am so intrigued.
Totally.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I always, you know, when it comes to storytelling, I am the absolute worst storyteller because I'm always told that I over explain, I give backstory, because in my mind, it's very important to have the backstory so that the punchline has more, you know, it makes more sense. It's in context. But every time I start telling a story, you know, my oldest son will say, "Oh, geez, no, can you just get to the point?" My husband does it too. She just tunes out, you know.
He just takes it off.
What? She just takes off her ears. Gosh, she's talking again.
What did you say, Mom? I think
nobody listens to me when I tell stories.
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
You do.
I do.
I love you.
Me too.
Okay. Oh wow, I'm down to the last question already.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay, so finish this sentence. All you need is.
I'm like, don't reveal this part of yourself, Kerry. Okay. I don't want this to make it sound like I'm some like crazy gun nut. But I will explain my answer. I really, because there's an explanation to this. So if you quote me on this, I will. All you need is 2 dogs and a gun. Here's my explanation. Here's my explanation. Because I am not, number one, I do have 2 dogs. But right after Katrina, like I got back in New Orleans at the end of October. So the water had come down and it had only been down like 4 to 6 weeks. And there was a sign, and it's pretty famous. You can find it everywhere. And it was on St. Charles, and it was all this plywood had boarded up, and he'd written on it twice, actually. And one of the things he'd written was, "I have 2 dogs and a gun inside, just try it." And then he kept writing and was like, "Wife is gone, just me, something." And you can find the original online. Like if you look up 2 dogs and a gun, Katrina, like plywood poster or something. But I just drove by, and he kept it up for like ever. So I just drove by it a lot. And now every time people are like, "Well, what do you need?" I'm like, "Well, 2 dogs and a gun." Like that's what, you know, it's like my typical answer. My students would tell you, I told them to always carry a knife. But that might be true, actually. I think I might have said that. But it's because when you're from a rural area, I'm going to totally overextend. When you're from a rural area, you know, if you're stuck, like Montana doesn't have cell phone reception everywhere. Neither does like West Texas. So you keep tools and things so that like if your fan belt busts, you can do something. Like you just always have like a knife, a blanket, you know. If you've hit a deer and it's not dead, you want the gun because you want to be able to put out of its misery. Like there's all these reasons to have all this stuff. And it just sounds like I'm an insane person, but I'm not.
No, you sound like a very prepared person.
It is. And so like we were walking, I forget, we were on set one day, we're walking around. I was like, "Oh, I think that's Dill." And Carlos, who plays Alvaro, was like, "Kerry, I think you actually could survive in the woods." I was like, "Well, depending on the woods, because all woods are different and all woods have different edible plant stuff." But it was very funny. I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure."
Man, you can tell an edible plant from a non-edible plant.
Some of them, it depends, because you can get really complex with it, where there's like barks you can boil and eat, but I don't know that. I don't know. I just know there are. And then there's berries are really dangerous, so you got to be careful. Bright red, just don't even touch it. Like they're generally poisonous. There's people, I know people who know mushrooms really well too.
Oh, wow.
I'm learning that a little, but yeah.
So you
But I have a couple books that I periodically just be like, if I was in the wilderness today, what do I need to survive?
you totally would survive a zombie apocalypse. Hands down.
Actually, all my friends from college, when they saw episode 2, were like, of course you're on Walking Dead. They're like, who else would be on that? So
Wow.
hopefully, you know, I've survived this long. I'm gonna be fine. They can't kill me. I mean, what are they gonna do? Although I do want to be killed with my bow. If I have to die, I want my bow to kill me.
Oh, interesting.
That's the death I would choose. I would choose to die by my own bow, which would be sad because how would I ever it never leaves my side. But
right.
But that's how I would die. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, end on that note.
And on that note, now I'm gonna go cry somewhere.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yay! You know, well, hey, bow and arrow is Valentine's Day related, right? Sort of, right?
Yeah, it
There
is.
you go.
Cupid. I will shoot zombies with love.
Yeah, there you
That's what I will do. Little heart-shaped Diane arrow. I love you. Fall in love with each other. Zombies making out everywhere. Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
Well, the visual is killing me.
Like, oh God. The transcript of what I just said. I'm like, oh, let's put that on paper. Let's
talk about how Diane celebrates Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
In Kingdom.
Make them love each other.
Hey, you know, even the dead need love, you know?
Yeah.
I think that needs to happen. But on that note, I want to thank you so much for not just doing this once, but doing this twice.
No, I feel like everybody got like 3 answers out of me. Good. I think so. It'd be good.
This was an amazing conversation, and I'm very honored to have had this chance to talk to you again. And I would love to, as the season develops more, have you back and talk about what's going on with Diane, you know?
Totally. Yeah. We'll yes. That's I'm like, yes, I'll see you.
And I will hopefully be able to partake during the next conversation.
Yes.
I don't have a Kenny Rogers cup, but
Ooh.
I do have a big giant skull mug that I like to drink out of.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's that?
My big giant glass skull mug that weighs more than you.
Really?
Well, sort of.
No.
Almost more than you.
Almost.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. There's lots you haven't heard yet, thankfully.
Why?
Because you're little. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kerry. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad the solar flares stayed away for a while.
Yes. I think we banned. They tried. They did try, but we kicked them out. We got them. We got them under control.
This worked. I think
It
my
did.
hand motion for something. Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'll talk to you again. So I will say bye to everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You too. Happy Valentine's Day. And your box is going to turn out really pretty. I've watched you painting it.
Oh. Yeah, I'm inhaling all of the nail polish.
Yeah,
you know.
And have a good dinner. Go enjoy dinner.
Thank you.
I like the nail polish smell.
You have to. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know if it's healthy.
It's so not healthy. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. Okay, well, thank you all again. That was the second attempt to have an interview with Kerry Cahill, because the first time there was a lot of solar flare interference that was getting in the way, and about 3/4 of the way into the interview, the connection got completely severed. So Kerry was gracious enough to come back and do this all over again with us. So it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you watching. And I will be updating the description of this video with the link to amvets.org, as well as mentioning some of the other veteran associations that she was talking about that are good for if you're interested in donating or doing some kind of volunteering for it. I think that's very important, and I'm so glad that she and I had the chance to discuss that. And yeah, so there. And that is the end of my second Walking Dead interview. I'm really excited about. Coming up next week, and I don't remember the date, I will post it. I will be interviewing another actor from Supernatural.
Who is it?
He's the actor who plays Acabel in the Lily Sunders Has Some Regrets episode. So stay tuned and have a good night, everybody. Thanks so much, and happy Valentine's Day.